So let's take a look at Russia's reforms and revolutions from 1815 to 1910, roughly. So the 19th century. We've done France, we've done Great Britain. As we close up this middle mini unit on Russia, European reforms and revolutions, we'll come back and take a look at Russia. Some significant changes from the beginning to the end, as you might expect, but not at first mired in a rigid social structure. A large amount of land, a lot of natural resources, population with eyes toward expansion. Remember our friends Catherine the Great and Peter the Great, and their desire to modernize and westernize. That was still there, but you still had that rigid social structure with the boyars, the Russian nobles, and peasants, and of course an absolute monarchy. But they were landlocked with no port in the Mediterranean. Remember, they had the port in St. Petersburg that the Peter the Great established, but they were largely landlocked, especially in the south. Lacked a lot of industry, but had white ethnic peoples, Belarusians in the west, Ukrainians and Great Russians in the north and central, all these Slavic peoples. So as we start looking at a little bit at the politics, some key terms. Remember, in Russia, the Tsar is a king, basically. It's the Russian name. We'll come back to that. In the early part of the 19th century, you had autocratic or absolute rule. Alexander and Nicholas were the czars. Their policies censoring the press, this policy of Russification, a program for non-Russians to adopt the language, religion, and customs, a assimilation, so to speak. And in foreign policy, they wanted to unite all the Slavic people, expanding into Asia, toward the weakening Ottoman Empire, to aid the Balkan people. Remember those nationalist movements we talked about among the Balkan people as we go along. So you may need to stop this to get notes. That I forgot to mention, that you may need to stop this to get notes in your notebook. But then also there's going to be some questions that come along here, and we will move from there. So the first one then is, to answer. Peredek is the following was an obstacle to progress in Russia in the 1800s. So what was the biggest obstacle of these to progress in the 1800s, based on what we've just discussed? And we'll come back with more here in a moment.